Guys, Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. Hopefully it finds you all doing well. I'm doing great. I'm heading to TwitchCon in a few days here. I might miss like one upload over the weekend.
I am so sad.
Sometimes I take Sunday, like 1 or 2 Sundays a month off here on the channel, so I might do that again, obviously with the traveling. But hey, if you're going by any chance and you see me, go ahead and come say hi. The last event I went to was PAX East in Boston. Ran to a lot of you guys. Let's talk some Raid Shadow Legends. Also, a couple other creators. I think Darth and Deadwood will be there, so get a chance to actually meet some of my colleagues here in Raid Shadow Legends YouTube. Have you guys ever been to any sort of a convention like Comic-Con or anything like that? Let me know what your favorite is in the comments below, especially if you're going to TwitchCon. Anyway, guys, today I want to talk about champions that I got wrong. I got a lot of champions wrong throughout the years, and some of them are extremely wrong, and some of them were just like, okay, I thought the champion was pretty good, but they ended up being just unbelievably good. So gonna go through the array of different expectations and then how they lived up to them. But all of these champions we talk about today are gonna be champions that exceeded my expectations. Starting with Black Knight, man. Black Knight, I don't know why, but this dude, he gets a little bit of hate out there. Like, there's not a lot of Black Knight fans.
You people should be thanking Christ that I am who and what I am.
Well, I'm one. I'm the president of the Black Knight fan club, ladies and gentlemen.
That is amazing. And you, my friend, are a true hero.
This dude's actually really, really unique and cool, right? So he has a 75% provoke on his A1. He's a Force Affinity HP-based champion. On his A2, we get a continuous heal in increased defense for 2 turns on, wait for it, a 2-turn freaking cooldown. I mean, come on, dude. His A3 leaves a lot to be desired, right? You can just turn that off now. Last breath, attacks all enemies, damage increases. The damage isn't much, and it's based on attack, man. Hey, instead of buffing Venus...
Here we go again.
I'm going down my rant again. I'm sorry, guys. Instead of buffing Venus and Baron, how about you change Black Knight's A3?
For obvious reasons, I couldn't wait for your permission.
Anyway, guys, but despite the A3, again, you can just shut this off if you want to. This dude's cranking out increased defense and a big version of continuous heal every 2 turns. So, like, him and Iron Brago are the guys to go to. 1 Spirit Affinity, 1 Force Affinity, if you want, you know, great increased defense up all the time on your team, and he's got some healage as well. 15% continuous heal every 2 turns is a lot, right? It's a lot. Heck, if you have reflex or something crazy on this dude, or relentless, you're just getting like endless increased defense and heals. Okay, enough about Black Knight. Pretty cool champion. Also has an unkillable on his champion for 1 turn if incoming damage exceeds 15% max HP in 1 attack. That's on a 2-turn cooldown, so he also can't be one-shot. So really, really cool champion. I am a big fan. There's actually a rare here. I have a nice mixture of rarities in today's video, guy. Valerie! What's up, Valerie? So Valerie is a farmable rare champion, man. And I took her to level 50 on my free-to-play account, and boy, I've been sleeping on some Valerie. She's actually one of my favorite rares out there, right? She's, for a rare, she's got a decent amount of defense, over 1,000, right? 15, 16k on the HP, not too bad, a support champion. She's got this swing, and I mean, look at this godlike ability. Attacks 1 enemy. Well, hey, at least it lives up to exactly what it's doing, which is just doing nothing. Energizing presence, this is where it's at, right? And I've talked about this actually numerous times in the past here on the channel, guys, but one of the big mistakes I made, you know, in my early days, when I was a little grasshopper in Raid Shadow Legends, was not valuing the increased duration of all buffs on all allies. We're also decreasing the duration of all debuffs on all allies by 1 turn, which could be a cleanse, right? If you have a 1-turn True Fear, let's say, on an ally, bye-bye, and then places an increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. Granted, the increased attack is the weak version, but still, this is on a 3-turn cooldown from a farmable freaking rare champion, man. It's a really, really good ability. We talked about it on Black Knight, but having these buffs basically last for another turn is just huge. And there's not that many champions in the game who have this. She's also bringing, granted on a 5-turn cooldown, but she's bringing a shield as well for 2 turns. The value is equal to this champion's level. We're also healing each ally according to the number of buffs they are currently under. So she's got a shield, she's got some heal, and then she's got the extend duration of all the buffs. So Valerie is a champion that, again, it wasn't until I used her, again, level 50, right? But still, not until I used her, I'm like, wow, really, really solid support champion. All right, next up is going to be, now this is going to be one of those examples, guys, of a champion that I thought was good, but now I think is great, and that is Valerie of the Thorn. So I was exhausted. You know how it is sometimes with these freaking fusions in the game, right? Sometimes they're exhausting. You're just like, I'm gonna pass on this one, man. And that was my mentality on Valerie of, is it Bivold or Bivold?
Bivold.
Of the Thorn. That was my mentality, right? And then I pulled him. I got lucky enough, thank God, to pull him after the fusion, and boy, this dude is great. I love this guy, man. He's got a provoke, a heal with the ally lowest HP on his A1. Provoke can even be placed on weak hits. Same thing with his A2, the leech and provoke. On the A2, he's attacking everybody 2 times on a 3-turn cooldown. He's got a 100% chance on the first hit of provoking everybody. Perfect, beautiful, love it. And then the second hit, leech, 100%. Also has a strengthen on him for 2 turns. Man, he's doing a lot with this ability.
Admonition. Forget about it.
Man, that's a good one. A great Hydra decay provoker, right? On the A3, it's an AoE. Damage increased by 5% for each debuff on each enemy. Also heals all allies 20% of the damage inflicted, and places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, equal to 20% of the damage inflicted. And he actually deals decent damage on 2 AoE attacks for an HP-based champion. So he's bringing heals. He's bringing more heals vis-a-vis the leech. He's bringing provoke, he's bringing shield, he's got the decrease of damage taken by all allies from enemies under provoke debuffs by 15%. Man, we've reviewed his whole kit now, right? But a tremendous legendary champion. And if I could go back in time, well, I guess since I pulled them, I don't need to go back in time, but I would have done that fusion. I would have regretted if I hadn't pulled him and I hadn't done the fusion like I did with Herndig. Still don't have Herndig. I passed. That was a mistake too. Next up is going to be Fenix. So I actually maxed out and did a guide on Fenix probably like 2 years ago on the channel, but I pulled him like 3 years ago or whatever, 3.5 years ago, right? And he just chilled in my vault for a long, long time. And then I maxed him out and I was like, whoa, where have you been all my life, Fenix? You handsome devil, you.
Now you're making me blush.
He's got a very, very, very extremely hard-hitting A1 ability. Put down, it does just that because we're denying revival on a very hard-hitting A1, which is tremendous for an ally attack team, right? Very hard-hitting A1 ability. And then on the A2, it's an AoE with block buffs at an 80% land rate, 85 with sniper, right? Places block active skills debuff for 1 turn if it doesn't place a block buffs debuff. So an AoE block buffs for Hydra, look no further. You've got a stern partner in Fenix. On the A3, granted on a 4-turn cooldown, but still, block active skills is cool to have, if it doesn't land on the block buffs. On the A3 ability, Soul Feebleness makes him amazing against, again, an ally attack team or against any boss, any single target that you want to debuff. He's bringing 2 of the best, most powerful debuffs in the game. He's got decreased defense and decreased speed for 2 turns, and again, a very hard-hitting attack on his A3 as well. So he's got a unique kit. There's not a lot of extremely hard-hitting epics on A1 with denial of revival. So, and he's bringing great debuffs. All right, I made my point here, but I really, really like that. I love Fenix, man. All right, next up is going to be my girl, man. I love... She is... I was going to say a simple champion, but she's not very simple. She's only got 2 active abilities. I run her in a Reflex, dude. One of the best sets in this entire game. Oh, I love Reflex gear, right? Especially for champions like Contra, right? So she has an AoE attack 3 times. Each hit is placing 75% chance of placing any of these debuffs, right? So the cool thing about this is with their passive synergy, right? This is so cool. Decrease each enemy's accuracy by 10 for each debuff they're under, and she is throwing out debuffs like it's her job. It is her job, right? She actually has pretty decent multipliers for a defense-based champion, too. And look at that base defense, 1542. Yes, please. This champion will receive 4% less damage for each debuff on the attacker, okay? Heals a champion by 1250 HP every time a debuff expires on an enemy. Think about that on Hydra. They're expiring all over the place, and she's just like, heal, 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 heal. 75% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn on enemies under 5 or more debuffs at the start of this champion's turn, and she can place all her debuffs on weak hits. That is a money last sentence there, man. Makes her incredible. Don't have to worry about affinity so much. And then again, 75% chance provoke makes her an extremely competent provoker for Hydra clan boss. So with Hydra coming out, Contra really went from like a good support champion pretty much anywhere, amazing for faction wars, but now just one of the higher tier champions in the game. I use her on one of my main 3 Hydra clan boss teams. Do you guys? I love Contra, and you know, I kind of always loved her, but then I recognized, like, wow, in a reflex set, especially after they buffed reflex, like, she's just insanely good. I'm a big fan, if you can't tell. All right, next up is going to be Alika. So Alika's a champion that was just the queen of the vault on my account for years and years. I think I saw, it was Scratch, I think, did a video on her, and he's like, dude, most powerful nuker ever. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna click on this clickbait. Guilty as charged as well, right? But Disorient and AoE attack, dude, this Disorient, right? It hits really hard. He was not clickbaiting me, man. I did it and I built her and I was like, what? So then I did a guide on her too, because she has a 2-turn cooldown. Ignore 50% of the target's defense if their HP is higher than this champion's HP, which is pretty easy to do. So if you build her squishy, you can do a lot worse for an arena nuker. Honestly, I think she's one of my favorite epic arena nukers out there, behind Genbo and Magnar. I think she'd be my number 3. Am I forgetting anybody obvious? She's that good, though. She's that good. So definitely underrated her for a long time. How about Vala? Vala was a champion who was for those old school players, she was an Amazon. If you had Amazon Prime back in the day, they gave you a few champions. I think it was Whisper and Ultimate Galek and Vala, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but man, oh man. Vala was a champion that I just ignored, dude. I just ignored her. I was like, yeah, she kind of seems selfish, removing shields on all enemies and attacking them. She's doing, you know, increased damage, whatever. Place a shield on this champion, 20% of her HP. Increased defense on this champion for 3 turns. Village champion turn meter by only this champion. That's selfish, Vala. Get out of here. That's what I thought, at least, right? And then I built her on you know those videos that I do where I pull random shards and I make a random team? And I was like, that video really opened my eyes to wait a second here. I mean, the champion's turn meter by 50% on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. And then that great shield, increased defense, makes her do more damage. She's a defense-based champion, so she can put out some serious damage. I underestimated what she can do in terms of a debuffer / damage dealer who's easy to keep alive with a 1409 base defense. So she's removing all shield from all enemies, attacking all enemies, and then having a 50% chance of placing a decreased defense on all enemies for 2 turns. This is on a 3-turn cooldown. Now, I would love if this is like a 75% chance decreased defense. Heck, I would love if it was a little bit higher than that. I mean, what are the best defensive-based debuffers in the game? We got Duck the Pierced. He's 100%, right, on a 3-turn cooldown. And then we have Ragash, amazing champion, right? Also stunning. But even with the 50% chance or 55 with Sniper, man, she's like a pretty decent, maybe secondary debuffer to have on your team, or for faction wars if you just don't have a debuffer. Fantastic there as well. And even as a dungeon support champion, that's just really difficult to kill. She has mitigating damage while she's under a shield too. You could do a lot worse than Vala. Yeah, she's not like an S tier epic or anything like that, but I was just a little bit too down on her. Next up, guys, gonna be, let's go to legendaries, man. Let's go to a Void legendary. And this is gonna be one of those examples. He looks like, I don't know, I called him Beauty and the Beast, or Beast, Manaya's beauty, right?
You blind? Are you blind?
Either way, guys, Cornar is a champion that, dude, this guy is really, really good. And I've always, you know, recognized him as a pretty good champion. But every time I use him, I'm like, wait a sec, man. He's a beast. He's a beast of a champion, no pun intended. He has an AoE with turn meter on the A1. So an AoE on the A1 with turn meter depletion. One of the better control champions. One of the best control champions in the game. If you factor in, he also has a 3-turn provoke at 100% land rate. So he's provoking every 3 turns. And then he has this counterattack thing we'll get into in a second here. He's removing all, well, he has great Manaya synergy. One of the strongest kind of tandems in the game as well. He places block buffs, block debuffs buff, excuse me, and an increased defense buff on the champion for 2 turns as well on this beastly bellow, so we can keep him himself alive because he's provoking everybody, right? He also has a Battle Waltz, another AoE attack here. Places a decreased attack debuff on all enemies, and then a decreased defense as long as the decreased attack lands. That's great. It is on a 4-turn cooldown. We'd love it to be a 3-turn cooldown, but if it was a 3-turn cooldown, he'd be just like one of the best champions in the game, for my money at least. But either way, that's still an incredible ability, Battle Waltz, right? So a lot of AoEs. He deals a sneaky amount of damage, especially for an HP-based champion, which traditionally deals out kind of the least amount of damage in this game. But anyway, this Ferocious Guard passive, this is where it's at. Counterattacks when hit by enemies under decreased attack, decreased defense, or decreased speed. So as long as you got at least one of those debuffs up, and he's carrying 2 of them himself, he's going to be attacking and decreasing turn meter all over the place, and dealing a sneaky amount of damage as well. So Cornar is a champion that, again, I never thought he was trash or anything, but I remember pulling him and I was like, okay, Cornar. Looking back a couple years ago, whatever, and now I'm just like, yeah, Cornar, man, he's a good champion. All right, next up is gonna be, this is a recent one for me, guys. Fane. I heard the talk, I heard the chatter about Fane, right, for a long time, but boy, oh boy, she hits hard. She is one of the best DPS for unkillable clan boss teams in the game. I'm so glad I built her. I mean, this is crazy to say. The affinity is different depending on what you need, but she's up there with some of the best raw damage dealers and against the clan boss, and she's bringing poisons, well, obviously, decreased attack, she's bringing decreased defense, and she's bringing weaken, right? Weaken. This is on a lasts for 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown, so it's great, right? So she's bringing everything you need and a ton of damage. She really can stand alone with champions like Gentaro and Brachus and Draco. These are legendary champions. So Fane, man, I was so happy with her. She's so squishy. 727 in the defense, 1300. So on a traditional Demon Lord team, maybe leave her in the, on the sideline. But on an unkillable team, I mean, she's great for DPS, guys. So I definitely slept a little bit on her. Next up is going to be another example of a champion that I thought was good, but boy, she's grown on me a lot, and that's Countess Lix. I'm trying to give you a little variety here, right? She's great. She's got the weaken on the A1, right? On the A2, Mire of Misery. I just love the name, Mire of Misery. A 4-turn cooldown, attacks everybody 3 times. Each hit, 100% chance, decreased speed for 2 turns. You guys, been watching the channel for any amount of time, you know I love, with a capital L, decreased speed. I love it. I love it. Every team, I've got a decreased speed champion, almost every team. Teams that we don't need it for, we don't have it. But, any boss, I'm trying to find a decreased speed champion on any of my teams, especially against like Hydra and obviously Iron Twins, right? Depending on what kind of team you run. Anyway, each also has a 100% chance of decreasing the enemy's turn meter by 10%, okay? It's a great ability, but look at this time dilation. One of the more powerful abilities out there in the game. Attacks all enemies, block active skills, also decreases the cooldown of all ally skills except this champion's by 1 turn. It's on a 5-turn cooldown, so we're blocking active skills, and then we have that little mini Painkeeper going on right over here, right? Decreases the cooldown of all ally skills. Such a powerful ability. There's only like 3 or 4 champions in the game, maybe 5, that have that, and she has it on an AoE with block active skills. Very, very cool. She has an Astralon Tandem champion ability as well, and then Channel Woe fills his champion's turn meter by 5% each time an ally receives a debuff. Wow. That's a lot of turn meter fill over the course of these longer battles. I built her again for Hydra, and I don't regret it. She's dealing some damage. She's placing the decreased speed. She's reducing the cooldown of all of our skills. Longer battles. Countess Lix. She really impressed the hell out of me, guys. She really, really did. All right, next up is going to be, let's go to the Undead Horde, guys, and I'm going to get some hate. I'm going to get some hate from you guys, but I'm going to include Vlad the Nightborn. I don't know why, but you guys, some of you guys in the comments, every time I mention Vlad, you're like, dude, Ash, stop with the Vlad. Stop with the Vlad. I like Vlad, dude. Kill me, right? Kill me. Listen. He's not the most overwhelming Void Legendary of the game. I'm not trying to say he's one of the best champions in the game. He's might be even a little underwhelming for a Void Legendary. But I kind of like the dude. And I thought he was really trash when he came out. I think I made a video probably, talking a little smack about Vlad. Sorry, bro. But this A2 ability, right? Exsanguinate. Attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns. Now, this is where it gets kind of really cool, right? For the arena, of all things, right? Has a 100% chance of stealing 50% of the turn meter from champions from the Bannerlord, Sacred Order, or High Elves factions. has a 100% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 50% instead against targets not from those factions. So he's decreasing 50% or stealing 50% turn meter. This is a great opening move in the arena. You're getting the leech, you're getting a decent amount of damage. It's a pretty hard hitting ability. Not the hardest out there, but you know, a little bit of a nuke going on. And then you're having a massive turn meter decrease and stealing it in some cases. Very, very cool ability. And then he has a hard-hitting Mind Shroud with decreased defense block active skills on his A3. If both debuffs are placed, he's placing a perfect veil on himself as well. He has a revive on death every time he kills an enemy. So, you know, you could do a lot worse than Vlad. And I think that a lot of players, not in the end game, but a lot of players, we forget about this, right? As content creators sometimes. A lot of players who aren't in the end game, they forget about, or they underrate champions like this who can really be incredibly beneficial to a lot of players out there, right? He's unique. I really like that A2 ability here. Can you tell? All right, next up, guys, going to be a rare here. It's going to be Grinner. So I needed a reviver for Undead Horde on my mini account, and I ran a level 40 Grinner. And I gotta say, man, there's not that many rare revivers out there. There's Gear Grinder, Reliquary Tender, Grinner. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple, but there's not that many, right? And Grinner, you could do a lot worse than. He's an old school champion, but he's got 4-turn revival, 50% HP with a shield as well. Not the most powerful support revive, but the cool thing about this champion is decent amount of defense, and he's very fast. 110 base speed. I think there's only a few rares in the game that have that high of a base speed. Diabolus comes to mind. Then he has an AoE chance of a 50% chance of removing a random buff from each target. Again, not a bad ability. He's on a 3-turn cooldown. So a reviver who is removing buffs on an AoE attack. And then he has the increase attack on all allies. Granted, only a 25% chance. But if you don't have an increased attack champion already on your team, I mean, you could do a lot worse. Grinner is a sneaky, decent reviver champion out there, especially if you're lacking one for Undead Horde like I was, right? Really kind of a cool champion. All right, next up, guys, going to be another rare champion here, and it is Executioner, right? I think Executioner is a farmable rare champion. He's just so solid, man. I'm using him in secret rooms. I built him somewhat recently, and I do not regret it, right? Shield Bash on the A1, he's got a stun, right? On the A2, and AoE, it scales off attack and defense, which is a little weird, but, you know, it is what it is. It actually does decent damage, right, on Tumult. Attacks all enemies, decreased turn meter by 20%, and then has a 75% chance of placing decreased speed debuff for 2 turns, 80 if you grab the Sniper Mastery. This is a very, very, very good control ability with some damage on top of it, okay? Getting the decreased speed, again, even the weak version is extremely valuable, and you're also decreasing the target's turn meter. There's not that many control abilities out of rare champions that are that good. He's also putting increased defense and counterattack on himself for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown, so he's always getting more chances at stuns because of those counterattacks. All right, guys, last but not least, a champion that I held off on covering or even mentioning here, like the first 6 months he was released in the game. And shame on me. Shame, shame, shame. I know your name. It's Ash Raid Shadow Legends, because this dude is a beast. He's got a 105 speed, first of all, over 20k on the HP, 1255 on the defense, so the stats are where it's at. Really, really strong champion. He has a leech on his A1 defense-based champion. He has an increased attack and turn meter boost on a 3-turn cooldown. Basically exactly what we're looking for, the big version here out of an epic champion. And then check out this ability. Granted 4-turn cooldown, but he's got a cleanse. Then he's got a heal, 25% of this champion's max HP, which scales incredibly well. And then he has a continuous heal buff for 2 turns on allies who have a debuff removed. Dude, this ability is really, really good. I was going to have Scathix on the list too, but I guess it depends on where you're using the champions. Hard to compare the two, but I decided to go with Runekeeper because I was just sleeping on this dude for too long. I mean, his kit's right there in front of our face. Like, it's super solid, but for whatever reason, I just wasn't giving him enough love, man. I love the turn meter boost, the cleanse, just a really, really nasty support champion. And then awkwardly, he has attack in all battles by 25%. Don't know why you'd have that on that kit, but either way, we're not going to hold it against you, Runekeeper. Guys, those are champions that I got wrong. Which champions did you get wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching all the way till the end, and as always, take care, guys.